Tonight we will be discussing creating successful clubs and players with strong branding and media presence. Please welcome Mrs. Aliaa Azlan from Shoot. Alia,
Yes.
you have a very vast experience in sports, particularly in marketing and digital media. Could you tell us more about your role in Shoot and what inspired you to be involved in media and marketing?
Okay, sure. I think I would begin by introducing who Shoot is or what Shoot is in the first place. Shoot is actually an official Malaysian football app. You can get any information, latest news, exclusive content, and more on the app. So basically, we're an infotainment app at this point in time, but we are going to evolve into becoming a super app in the future for football as well. So that's the vision that we have for the future. Now, the question as to what my role is
Yes.
in Shoot, I was approached to manage the digital advertising because it's an app, and also managing the marketing efforts for Shoot and as well as revenue generation activities. I think about a year and a half about being a startup because we are about 2 years old. We're very young still. So having to work in a startup, it allows me to venture and also explore other sides of the business. This is in the light of product development. I manage also the day-to-day operations, and I look at the technicalities of the app as well, and I even go down to business acumen and business sustainability. So that's how, fast forward, I am now leading operations and growth for the app. Yeah, and I manage different units across the board. Yeah.
That's a very, very big achievement for Shoot itself, knowing that they are an app and now they're going to go bigger and higher, just exactly like what we are doing here in Women's Super League. So could you explain more on sports marketing and branding, and what are the examples of a good or strong branding for clubs or individuals?
That is question number. Let me check again. Sorry. That is question number. Okay. Oh, the question number 3. Okay, so of course there are a few fundamentals as to building a strong brand, which is not rocket science, honestly. It's down to the very basics. Number 1 is actually to understand who you are as a club, who you are as a player. That is boiled down to your brand identity itself. And when I say brand identity, it's how you carry yourself, how you portray yourself to the public. And it's also down to the very detail, like your club's name, your club's logo, the color that you portray out there. It's all psychological effects as well. Like the color you chose for WSL, for example, interesting colors, right? It brings out, it's very outstanding, it's very attractive. So I think having that brand identity covers that area, but not only that, it also covers the tone of voice you use that depicts your personality. How do you position yourself out there? What are the values you hold on to? So I think if you cover those basic fundamentals well, and then you are consistent with your message, that's you on the way to building a very strong brand for yourself and for your club. Yeah.
Is there any example of that you can give us that has a very strong brand?
For the current one?
Yes.
The current clubs? Oh,
Yeah.
of course. I have been looking at each and every single one of the club, as a matter of fact. And I see that the ones that are more established and they have been in the scene for a little bit longer, and there's also new players like FC Spice Girls and that kind of stuff.
That's right.
But I begin to see that clubs like FC SWAT, for example, I noticed that there are a few collaborating efforts that you did with other sponsors out there, which to me is a great example. And I think you should continue doing that. And it's amazing to see how you begin so small and you know who to target in the first place. You don't look far. You don't have to be so ambitious in that sense. You look at the community around you. You begin with that. And I think another aspect of creating strong and consistent branding is actually to understand your audience and your objective. What are your objectives as clubs and players? You want to pull more women, more young ladies to come and join your efforts. And I think knowing what is it that they find interesting as content and that kind of stuff will speak very much relevant to them, right? And I think that's one, understanding your target audience and that kind of stuff. But also social media is free to use, right? And you have to know how to use it effectively. And I'm sure every single one of us here has used Reels at some point where they edit videos and that kind of stuff. And I think Instagram, TikTok and everything, such platforms have made it very easy for you to start having
Yes,
that
yes,
video
I
editing
agree.
skills.
Yes. Like even right now, like on the mobile phone itself,
Yeah.
you have a lot of video editing
Yes.
applications like
Yes.
VN, CapCut, and so on.
Yeah.
So those are the few tools that
Yes, my team and I myself use, not gonna lie, because those tools are ready for you to use and it's free, right? So some of it are free at least. If you want more pro things, you have to, of course, subscribe to it. But I think the basic fundamentals of using trending audios, knowing the algorithm of each platforms, for example, Facebook work differently. Instagram would focus more on relationships, the time you post and everything like that. And last but not least is, again, trend. Hopping on the trend, hopping on the latest audio. For example, the Miley Cyrus Flower song has been out there for quite some time, and that's all I hear. So that's how us, or rather the clubs or the players, can take advantage of. You can actually use that song to apply to whatever content that you want to put out there. And that will actually lead you to coming out in Explore page. You don't even have to pay for ads these days. That's how you can grow organically, which is wonderful because then you just have to find the right recipe and ingredient, and you hop on the current trends, and that's it. You are out on the Explore page, and people are starting to engage with you. Yeah, that's one.
So the flower song is currently stuck in.
Currently, still
Stuck.
very much stuck in my head, and you guys too, I believe. Yeah, I see some nodding heads.
That's good. Okay, what are the benefits of building a strong brand for a club or an athlete or an individual?
Benefits.
Yeah, the benefits.
Of course. Okay, so when it comes to benefits, I think number one is you increase your network and reach. And when you increase your network and reach, that's when you automatically get more engagement as well. That's the benefit of having strong branding. And of course, I think one of the key other things that I would like to highlight is actually better sponsorship opportunities, because it opens up more revenue streams for the clubs, and you can use that fund to channel into facilities, improving players' skills and everything like that. And I think aside from opening more revenue opportunities and also sponsorship, I think it also gives you higher demand for certain things. For example, you have merchandise, you sell your jerseys and everything like that, right? You have, it could be something that's more women-related merchandises as well. We use accessories, for example. So things like that, it opens up more opportunity to sort of commercialize whatever product you have. And of course, by default, when you do all of that, when there's sufficient funding, you get support from the community around you and private sectors and everything like that, right? You will also improve the player value by default, right? And another thing is, I think, a positive public perception. So when you build such credibility in terms of branding and media, you will automatically have that positive perception amongst others, yeah.
Okay, so far, what is the biggest challenge for a club
Yep.
or an athlete, an individual, to build themselves as a brand at the moment?
What is the biggest challenge for clubs? I think down to the, if I were to, this is my personal opinion and observation, is actually the lack of funding, I believe, which is, I mean, when you have, when you lack financial support, of course it affects the growth and it's similar to other businesses as well, and I think it's similar in this context. But I guess this also, when you lack sufficient funding, for example, this leads to then the facilities, the tools you need to build credible players and so on. So I think to another point is also promotion. So in terms of media coverage and whatnot, I believe that more focus can be put on women's football in that sense. And I think that's what Shoot is currently doing as well. We noticed that over the years, of course, despite the lacking here and there and that kind of stuff, it has progressed still over the years. And I begin to see that more women are motivated to join a male-dominated sports these days, which is wonderful to see. But I think the other point is that, bottom line, every challenge presents an opportunity. And I think that's how businesses thrive, that's how clubs thrive, that's how players thrive as well. A strong brand can help create a positive image, not only that, but I think you by settling like all this, like today's event, for example. This is a great example of how we sort of curb the challenge, or rather, fight the challenge that is given to us at this point in time. And I think I have FAS and its affiliates to thank for, because you are creating such platform and you are providing such platform for women's football to thrive continuously in the future, of course, yes.
Okay, so as we can see nowadays, social media is been a very easy access to everyone to get into content creation.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so what skills does one need to have or to know to utilize the social media in creating a club or individual brand?
Okay, so content creation, right? So when it comes to content creation, of course, number 1 and 2, I would say, is graphic design skills. But graphic design skills, I'm not talking about you knowing how to work Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, because God knows I studied that as well, but I just simply couldn't put it, I cannot seem to practice it. But there are more easy tool to refer to these days, like Canva, and you like CapCut, you were saying, things like that. You don't even need like intense skills like Adobe Illustrator and whatnot. So I think, and there are so much more AI tools these days as well, where you can simply just put your keyword and that kind of stuff, and then they will come up with the whole presentation for you, together with the pictures and whatnot. So I think skills, in terms of skills, it's knowing what sort of messaging, what sort of graphic, what sort of videos
So
in the
like
first place.
the club and or the individual athlete need to know what do they want to sell.
Yes,
Alright.
yes. Rather, again, understanding the audience and also putting a content that's relevant to them. And I think aside from that is also the strategy behind your content. Why do you provide such content? You understanding your objective in the first place, right? So you want to recruit more girls to join the effort. Tell them a bit more about your experience as a player. Tell them what you do on field and outside of the field. Tell them how what the support has been for you before and after and that kind of stuff, and the whole entire journey, because that's what young girls want to know these days. They want to be convinced to join a rough sport, right? So I think having that, sharing your personal experiences would definitely sort of, pull in that crowd that you need, and they will engage with you as well. And I think you have to also know sort of how to use different features in the app. So for example, Instagram has polls and cute quizzes and that kind of stuff. So that encourages people to engage with you at the end of the day, and not simply just putting an info out there, but not asking a relevant question. Put something out to them that they can actually share their feedback. And I think that's how you slowly build engagement for the future, right?
Like,
Yeah.
okay, so I can, it's safe for me to say, I think this applies to like
Yeah.
the current players who are right now, like maybe the age of 20 and above. So what if we see on like the younger ones,
The younger one,
yeah,
the
the younger
younger
ones where,
girls
yeah, they don't have access to
access.
social media and so on, or
Um,
maybe is restricted by their parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in that sense, if that particular young player or potential young player don't have access to social media because their parents restrict, which is only a right thing to do because social media is, a lot of
Bad side on
yes, the
social
bad
media.
side as well. But also, I think in that sense, it's again understanding your target audience. It may be younger girls, but also who's responsible for these younger girls. It's the parents, it's the siblings who are so I think in that sense you have to also look at different age category and how each content or whatever content that you create actually can be sold to across the board, across other age groups as well. But of course, it's to take the parents, to take the siblings to be sort of encouraged to send their kids or send their siblings to enter an audition or a clinic and that kind of stuff. You have to sort of give a snippet of what happens there and what the previous participants have experienced. So get their feedback on that. And I think more people, and one thing that's beautiful about social media, as much as it is a dangerous place as well, is that it encourages shareability. It's so easy for you to just, tap on and go to other people's DM, share links, share things on your story. So I think that's the network effect that we are trying to strive here. The more relevant content you put out, then people would take that and then they share and then it gets to the other. It's like word of mouth, kan? Kita selalu kita cakap dengan ni, I cakap dengan you macam ni, tapi dengan power of social media, easily instead of talking to you, which could take probably 10 minutes to get to other person, I can take 30 seconds on social media now, right? So yeah,
So I think we can all agree that social media is very powerful.
it is.
It's beautiful, but also it has a bad side.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Shoot,
Yeah.
Shoot app itself has been actively involved in creating many content for football.
Sure.
Right. What is the most interesting trend for
Mm.
content creation in 2022?
I think this is my observation. I think that the most interesting trend in 2022 is actually edutainment or infotainment. And when I say infotainment or edutainment, is actually when you tend to learn from videos and short videos. The shorter the video is, the better. Orang cakap kan, lagi short, lagi snippet, lagi bagus. But I think in the lights of what's interesting is these days people go to TikTok and Instagram like it's the next Google or it's the current Google. People search how to become a good player on TikTok. They get to learn from local coaches, not only local coaches, but they get to learn from the best of the best in the international at an international level even. So I think that sort of like hacks, tutorials, and that kind of stuff also were being done on TikTok and social media and even Instagram. So I think that's the trend that I saw. People actually speak about 10 ways to do things, for example, and then 10 easy shortcuts to do things like that. So I think that's sort of a Google directory already for how to navigate life. So I think in that sense, I saw that being the prominent trend in 2022, and I have a feeling that it will even be brought forward to this year.
Alright, so speaking
Yeah.
of TikTok, what is your take on the TikTok app itself?
I think it's very addictive, if I may say, because sometimes when I even for myself, I have to be honest. The fact that if I open a TikTok, the minimum amount of time I would spend there is probably 20 to 30 minutes, just to look at how others are. And you know how sometimes you scroll and then they will give you more information like that, so you can't stop. So I think, but you have to put a reminder. What I do for myself is
because it's a great place to learn. You will get more ideas there and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, to sort of balance that, put a reminder on your phone, like you have spent this amount of time on TikTok or on Instagram. That's what I do. It's like a timer. So I remind myself that as much as I want to learn here, I have other businesses to take care of, other things that I need to focus on. So I leave it to an hour at most. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So how can we advance the media and branding for our sports? Club, individual, or an athlete?
Okay. I think going back to the basic fundamentals earlier. So having strong brand identity, knowing your tone of voice, knowing your personality, understanding your target audience is one. Using social media, not only the features that it has, but don't forget the data analytics part, the insights that you are able to get from the social media platforms, especially when you're like a business account or content creator account, right? You are able to get the insights as soon as you post the video or the feed up, right? And I think in that sense, you can look at how many link links, how many views and everything like that. So refer to that as to what works and what not, because having analytical skills or the ability to read data is that it will help you to sort of make a more informed decision moving forward. So you know that, oh, okay, this content, okay lah, like, you know, swam kuku like that. So I won't be repeating this. But I will repeat what works, the one that garnered high views and that kind of stuff, and you will modify it almost.
So like this data, does it determine the algorithm of each post that we post, or?
Somewhat it is related to algorithm as well, because for Instagram, for example, the number one algorithm is actually your interests. So, for example, the more you see football content, the more it will appear on your explore page. That's how they sort of game you these days, and they feed you what you're most interested in. So I think having said that, when you hashtags and everything like that used to be very relevant yesteryears, like dulu. But today, as the features evolve, there's more algorithm and there's more ways for you to sort of be out there or get into the reach of others, the one that you never thought would look at your content, but here they are being fed your content because of the interest. And the interest could be as simple as football, or the interest could be about improving yourself as player. It could be what you feed on a daily life as well, your food that you take and that kind of stuff, the exercises. So I think that's why I say whatever content you put out there, relate it to daily life, relate it to others' form of lifestyle that is out there. Because if you touch more topics, then the more likely you will get out there to different audience.
In your opinion,
Yeah.
like we see this as an individual side.
Yeah.
Like in a day, how many postings? In
Do
a
you
yeah? Do you?
for shoot, for example?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So one trick I have up my sleeve, or what I tell my team as well, is to always look at shortcuts. There are so many content creators out there that are sharing tips and tricks. They would tell you that you would need a minimum of 3 feed postings in a week. Make sure you have 2 or 3 reels as well come out in a week. And there's like best days to also sort of deploy the content. So like, for example, Monday at what time? But that also is actually part of your business insight that's in your profile. You can tell when is the peak time, when you can tell when it's the downtime. So I think, again, it goes back to, again, dissecting that data and then making full use of that moving forward. Yeah.
So, what are the common misconceptions people have about this topic, and how can we combat them?
I think most common misconception about marketing and branding is that it requires a lot of investment or money to begin with. And I can tell you, with thanks to digital media and social media these days, you don't actually need to depend on paid advertising and so on and so forth, because the nature of social media today is that it allows you to grow organically, by again using relevant topics, using trending audios, and so on and so forth, right? So I think make use of that, and and I think the most common misconception will be sort of people will start shifting their mindset, and also look at how social media engagement and that kind of stuff can grow organically. And I think before even wrapping that up is, again, whatever you do, encourage shareability, because that's how you grow organically, and it will extend to a much larger network. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Aliaa, for
Thank
your
you.
wonderful and important input about branding and media presence. So for now, we open the floor again for any Q&A session. Yes.
Sure. In your opinion, which social media platform is best for me to update my results, I mean scores every week? Between TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter and Facebook, which between these four is best for my team?
That is actually a very good question. But I think having to say, when it comes to scores, I think it's immediate, right? Is quite fast. So things that are being updated quite fast, usually that doesn't require you to do graphic lah and that kind of stuff, is usually Twitter, where you can just share from the get-go. That is just a status update. But I think if you want to be more, because more often than not, you already have the graphic standby, and then you just kind of like put the numbers up and then post it up, right? I think in that sense, Instagram and Twitter might be the sort of the best platform given at this point in time, because if you were to go to TikTok, TikTok is more like videos, very much video related, and so does Reels at this point in time. But I think when you want to post on feed, especially status update Twitter, and then having the graphic posted on your story and also your Instagram feed. Yeah, those two.
Any